Yo, what's cracking with y'all? It's your boy K-Mac. Back here for the Pittsburgh Coverage Podcast. Episode number 39, Season 2, Episode 5. I'm your host, K-Mac, and we're going to recap the 2024 NFL Draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Recording live from a fun day, Sunday, early in the morning, peaceful, quiet. You can even hear the birds. So I wanted to record this yesterday, but just needed a recovery day, man. Let me tell you, working all these hours has been absolutely wild. But let's get down to business, man. Talking about this draft we just had. And if I had one word to summarize this draft, not even one word, one statement. Attacking the trenches. That was the Steelers' goal here. Attacking the trenches. And that's exactly what the fuck we did, man. So let's talk about this thing and let's talk about it. So Thursday night, the Steelers open up round one. Pick number 20 with Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle from Washington. In lifetime, the players I wanted here, honestly, I was like, well, Amarius Mims just went. Jackson Powers Johnson is still here. Couple players also I wanted were Quinyon Mitchell, maybe Cooper DeJean. I was like, in the moment, I was like, we could really take the defense over the top here, or we could get that center right now. But I had never even considered Troy Fautanu because I didn't think he was going to be there. And a lot of the mocks I did, he was not there. Like, the fact that he fell to us at 20 was very surprising because this guy was a top 10, top 12 player in the draft. Top 3 offensive lineman, in my opinion. Phenomenal Washington tackle. Played left tackle. Could play right tackle. Had 1,300 pass blocking snaps in 3 seasons. Only allowed 3 sacks. 6'3", close to 6'4", 34-inch arms, so he's got good length. A little bit shorter, but I'm not really too worried about that. Very good on his feet. Very good, technically sound footwork. Can maul in the run game as well. This is a very technical good player. Like, his technique is on fucking point. And that's what stood out to me in the film was like, this dude is light on his feet. He can cover up ground very fast. Like, I saw him hit a counter spin to someone's spin move. Like, this dude is light on his feet. He was a big part of Washington's success and a big part of the reason why they had the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, which is awarded to the best offensive line in college football. They took that title away from Michigan, who had won it the past 2 years, if I am not mistaken. And so Tomlin pointed out, like, he was a big part of their offensive success. And the fact he was there at pick 20, like, we had a great player fall to us. And so for that pick, I'm going to give that an A-. I'll be curious to see where he plays on this team already with having Broderick Jones and Dan Moore Jr. If I had to bet, I'm probably going to say they keep Broderick Jones at right tackle, make Fautanu left tackle, and then make Dan Moore Jr. a swing tackle. So I'm good with that. So to me, this pick was good. We need another tackle. Get Dan Moore Jr. off the field. This guy is it. He was a Steeler fan growing up. His favorite player was Troy Polamalu growing up. The dude seems like a good guy off the field. No character issues. He spoke volumes of just, like, being mean, nasty, and just likes to really just punch people in the mouth and, play offensive line, man. He enjoys it. And I got to say, for this pick, I was pretty happy with it. I mean, in lifetime, I was kind of like, okay. I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but I just wanted those DBs. But we'll talk about that later. But nonetheless, building the trenches, no problem with that. That's what we needed. So that's all we did in round one. Start off the draft good with the tackle. We get to day 2, where there are rounds 2 and 3. And with the 51st pick in the draft, I think we picked at 18 or 19. I want to say 19. The Steelers selected Zach Frazier, center out of West Virginia University. Again, we needed a center. What do you know? A center falls right into our laps. I was kind of quaking a little bit after Jackson Powers-Johnson went to the Raiders earlier this round. I was like, fuck. Is Zach Frazier a bust at this point? And they actually talked about moving up potentially to get him. But like I said, just the way the board fell to the Steelers was phenomenal. We didn't have to trade up for anyone. We didn't have to trade down. Though there was option, they actually said they could have done that in round 1, but they're like, we were stuck on Troy. We wanted him. So, I wanted Graham Barton leading up to the draft, but Fatanu's a better player than Graham Barton. Fatanu, play him at either tackle spot and he will do his thing. But getting back to this pick with Zach Frazier, a good wrestler and a great wrestler, great on his feet. 6'3", I want to say. Really didn't have a whole lot of film tape on him, but he was obviously the second best center in the draft. Jackson Powers-Johnson was first. I think Cedric Van Pelt was third or fourth, so those were some of the centers I had in mind. And I'm honestly thinking about it. I'm glad we didn't take a center first round because one fell right into our laps and the first center didn't go to the second round. So Zach Frazier, a mauler, nasty, just a perfect fucking Steeler player, man. I mean, dude likes to do woodwork, wood chopping, and it's second best center, and he falls to you in round 2, pick 51. No complaints with that. That for me is an A-. An A probably. A-. I'll say an A- just because it's not Jackson Powers-Johnson who I wanted, but a lot of fans were chirping about this pick because a lot of people wanted Adonai Mitchell here. And to me, it's like, who's going to snap? You can't. People need to realize in a draft, you cannot fill all your fucking needs unless you have multiple draft picks. And even then, it's like, not every player is going to be a fucking bona fide beast or a bona fide Pro Bowler or a starter. It's like, Adonai Mitchell would have been nice here, but at the same time, we have George Pickens. We don't have a center. That's just how I'll put that. We have George Pickens. We didn't have a fucking center. This guy's a day 1 starter, just as well as Troy Fatanu. You build in the trenches again, because we're going to be a run-first offense. So the scheme makes sense. Maybe they didn't like Adonai Mitchell. We don't know. And the fact remains that Troy Fatanu was ranked 10th on their big board and fell to them at 20. I'm sure Zach Frazier was also rated pretty good for them. So, have no problems with this draft pick. And Zach Frazier, for me, I was thrilled when we got him. I was like, now our offensive line is ready to fucking go. Now we have a foundation. Just got to give it time and see how things gel. But, yeah, man, for rounds 2, no complaints from me. Right before this pick, though, Mike Sanders still went. I kind of low-key wanted him, a slot defensive back out of Michigan, but he went right before us. I was like, okay, well, Zach Frazier's still there. Zach Frazier's the pick. And what do you know? So now that'll take us to round 3. Friday night. Roman, our pick number 84. And I like this pick. Roman Wilson, wide receiver out of Michigan. I am very familiar with his game, being that I am been a Michigan fan since '97, since the day I was born. I've watched every snap of this team since about 2017, 2016, ever since we got a Harbaugh. And so Roman Wilson, to me, probably is going to be our slot receiver. He's a team-first kind of guy. Good with the run after catch, reliable hands, only had one drop. the past couple of years. Could be a vertical threat, though. Michigan, we didn't really throw the ball like that down the field. So this guy, to me, good route runner. Great separation rate on man-to-man coverages. Look at his percentage on man-to-man coverage. Separation rate, meaning he creates separation. I view him as a good underneath routes type of guy. So I think he'll really be a decent replacement for what Deontay could bring, which was creating separation underneath. Good on man-to-man coverage, and good yards after catch. I think Roland Wilson probably, I don't know how well he's going to be outside. I think he can play outside, but I really like him to be our slot guy, to be honest with you. I think he'll be good at that. Reliable hands, does the dirty work, good run blocker. I mean, just pull up the film. He was a great blocker at Michigan, and a big part of the reason why we had he was our number one option actually in the passing game at Michigan. Him and Colson Loveland. So to me, this is probably, I like a B. I like a B plus, probably a B though. I'm not sure how high of a ceiling he has. I think he's probably got more to develop in his game. Physically, like intangibly, I think he's maybe 6 feet. He's not the tallest guy. Not the fastest guy, but he's a hard worker. Gives you all of his effort. He'll just play as hard as he can play. And at the Senior Bowl, for what it's worth, against Quinyon Mitchell, he had a great one-handed snag on the sidelines. So I like this pick. We needed a receiver, and one fell to us at pick 84. And I'm sure they were comfortable taking him. Didn't need to reach. He was still ranked pretty high in the board for a lot of teams. And according to Chris Sims, he was his 5th ranked receiver for what that's worth. So good with this pick. We needed a receiver. And again, Steelers didn't need to trade up or trade down to get a guy they need at a position of want and need. Like, we need a receiver. Wilson does the job. And I think he'll be a solid slot guy for us. So that brings us to the next pick in round 3. Pick number 98 via the Philadelphia Eagles from the Kenny Pickett trade. We go for a very high ceiling player. Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State, and this dude can fly. Wow. Talk about athletically gifted, man. 6'4", ran a 4.4 40-yard dash. Ultra productive at NC State, was ranked one of the best linebackers, inside linebackers in this class, and he fell all the way to 98, mainly due to injury concerns. A lot of teams apparently had him labeled as a one contract type of guy, so if you can get 3 or 4 good years out of him, that's about all you'll get. And honestly, most players are lucky to be even in the league after 4 or 3 years, so I don't know, I'm not really sure what that means, but apparently he does have an ACL at this point, so that's concerning. But then again, Hines Ward, Greg Lloyd, those guys didn't have ACLs coming into Pittsburgh either, so that's where I'd go with that. And how he fits this team, he's going to be a good special teams player coming off the bat, and he'll probably be a rotational guy. He'll be a linebacker 3 behind Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts. And this guy has very high potential. I mean, athletically speaking, physically speaking, like, the dude's very explosive, fast, great production. And Patrick Queen was thrilled when they drafted him. He was fucking pumped. Like, I mean, just look at the GIF he fucking posted on Twitter. So, to me, I give this pick probably a B plus. That's fair. I mean, good value. He was a top 50 prospect in the draft that fell to 98. And, you know, if you miss on this pick, it is what it is. But it's like, this guy could be a solid starter for the next 3 or 4 years. And at pick number 98, I have no problem with that. He's ultra productive, good film. He was solid at NC State, and the speed matches the tape. I mean, that was evident at the combine. So to me, a B plus, and We get a linebacker. Do we need one? Maybe not, but BPA, I have no problem with this pick. So you add speed to the defense. That was one of their main, key points they wanted to address this off season. My apologies, off season, and they add some speed here. So I have no problem with this pick, and I like it. So now that'll take us to day 3 of the draft, which was yesterday. And we open up the 4th round. Pick number 119. Mason McCormick, offensive guard out of South Dakota State. And again, a lot of people didn't really, a lot of back and forth with this pick because people wanted TJ Tampa, defensive back out of Temple, or another receiver. And, I understand that point of view. It's definitely need a defensive back to an extent. But I think before I get to this pick, I think it's very evident to me that the Steelers still plan on adding players via free agency. They added some players with undrafted free agent signings yesterday. Don't sleep on that. That's how we found Jalen Warren. And it's very evident to me they created cap room from the Alex Highsmith restructuring of his contract to add a receiver or add a defensive back. Maybe there were just players they didn't like. Every time they picked on the board, maybe they were just higher rated players at these positions they filled, rather than reaching for a receiver in DB, and I'm fine with that because Mason McCormick was ranked very high on the RAS athletic score, guard out of South Dakota State, and I think the reasoning behind this pick is James Daniels and Isaac Seumalo, and I think Herbig maybe even have 1 year left on their contract, so maybe they're thinking, hey, next year, if we lose one of those guys, potentially Seumalo, because he's the oldest veteran guard and lineman in the whole group as a whole collectively, maybe if we lose those guys, we have someone that's ready to step up and be a starter. And when you watch the film, even though South Dakota State's a smaller, not as provident type of school in college, it's not like, big time ball. The guy still played well, was a mauler, good in pass protection, and again, addressing the trenches. And I have no problem with that because it's evident to me the plan is run first offense. And this guy, you can never have enough good linemen. You never know what's going to happen with injuries. And, worst case scenario, this guy could step in and maybe be a starter if one of those guards goes down. So to me, at worst, this is a B- pick. I can't hate on this. I'm not a film technician or whatever, but the guy ranked pretty high the past couple of years, according to Pro Football Focus, for what that's worth. I'm not going to listen to them because we know how we feel about PFF when it comes to rating TJ Watt number 90. But, I have no problem with this draft selection. A lot of people said it was a good pick. You address the trenches. You can never have enough good linemen, good depth, and I like it. So for me, B-, B at best. Could probably be a starter next year. And, we'll see how all this looks in preseason. I'm looking forward to it. But that was actually our last pick for a while, as we didn't have another draft pick until round 6, pick number 178. And with that selection, we went Logan Lee, defensive tackle, Iowa. And he was a 3-year starter, never missed a game, just a decent player. This is more, when you get to these late rounds, it's hard to find starters. You can, but it's hard. This guy's probably just going to be a rotational piece at best. He was about 280, 6'4". It sounds like they're going to play him at defensive end in our 3-4 base package. So, I know we needed some defensive line depth, so I have no problem with this pick. This is probably a B-. Fills a quote-unquote need, as we're very old in the trenches. We got Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Isaiah Loudermilk, who we traded up for a couple of years ago, DeMarvin Leal, who was a third-round pick a couple of years ago, and then Keanu Benton, who played really well last year. I think he'll be good this year. Now we had Logan Lee, who's probably just going to be a decent player at best. Maybe special teams. Hopefully just a solid rotational guy. So with picks like this, I have no problem with it. And we needed to add another player to that room. So probably a B or a B minus. Considering who's on the board here, you're not going to find really any exceptional game-changing talent. And that'll bring us to our last pick of the draft, round 6 again. Pick number 195, my apologies. I want to say a compensatory selection, or it said it was a pick via the Cardinals, so I'm not sure how we got this one, but whatever. We took Ryan Watts, cornerback out of Texas. And he was a big corner, 6'3", really good length with arms. Sounds like he's going to be probably a safety more than a corner, but he's a hybrid prospect. Didn't have a whole lot of production, but Texas had a lot of good players drafted, a lot of players, and I'm sure he contributed in some fashion or form in terms of them getting to the playoffs this past college football season. So we needed a defensive back, and I know we haven't really developed DBs the best, but the guy's got some good length. Similar to Corey Trice Jr., who was a little bit lighter, as he has good length, but he's taller. But Ryan Watts is 200-plus pounds, 6'3", good length, good arm length. So I want to say he's probably going to be more of a safety more than anything. So, again, if you can get any type of decent snaps out of players like this, you take it. And so to me, it fills a need, quote-unquote, defensive back. So to me, it's probably a B. I'm not really too familiar with this game. I'll have to watch more highlights of these guys throughout the offseason. But to me, I think day 1 was probably an A or A minus. Day 2, I like day 2 to me is probably like an A or an A plus. And day 3, probably a B, B plus. I mean, 3 linemen were took in this draft: a defensive lineman, a defensive back, a receiver, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 draft picks. So that's 3 linemen, tackle, guard, center, wide receiver, a linebacker. So you're looking at 3 defensive picks, 4 offensive picks. I like the balance, and I think this draft went pretty well for Pittsburgh. I'd probably give the whole class just gut feeling. Obviously draft classes will tell over time how well they play and develop. But to me, this is an A draft class, and I think across the board and across the league, I think Pittsburgh probably had one of the best draft classes, as they did last year as well. We didn't trade up for anyone. We didn't trade down for anyone. I mean, the only players that really we could have missed on, maybe Adonai Mitchell, but Zach Frazier makes sense to me. We filled a lot of areas of need. Linemen, we've got 3 of them. Receiver, we got 1. Got a very fast and athletic linebacker. We needed that. Add to the room. We got a couple of defensive players, maybe some depth at defensive back, and maybe some depth at D-line. And very happy with this draft. But I'll watch some more film highlights throughout the offseason, and I'll be able to give a better take on these guys. But nonetheless, I thought the Steelers had a solid draft. And Omar Khan and Andy Weddle's influence, you could see, was all over this draft again as we went in the trenches. Last year, we drafted 2 linemen, Broderick Jones and Spencer Anderson. And this year, we added 3. And a defensive lineman. So really, my main takeaway was we attacked the trenches, and we did. And I think this will be a solid draft class. Best one we've had in a while. And I like it. I didn't feel like we reached on anyone, and we filled areas of need. We got good value with some picks. Roman Wilson was probably a good value pick. Mason McCormick was a good player. And Peyton Wilson was a good value pick. He fell pretty hard to us. So I like this draft, and for me, it's an A. Absolute A. And that'll do it for me for today's episode of the Blitzburgh Coverage Podcast, episode number 39, Season 2, Episode 5. K-Max out of here. What do you guys think? Give me some thoughts. Analysts. My bad. What's the word? Give me your reactions, thoughts on this draft. What do you guys think? Did you guys think we reached? Did we miss on someone? Undrafted free agents. Anyone come to mind? Give the podcast a review. That's how we spread the word, people. And don't forget, this is the best podcast for the Pittsburgh Steelers. K-Max out of here. You guys have a great weekend. I had a great weekend. And looking forward to, when we get back and doing this thing more. As now we're going to remain quiet throughout the offseason. I'll probably do a couple podcast episodes, but I can't really give you guys a specific schedule in terms of when I want to record, because the off season is going to be quiet. Just some mini camps, rookie mini camps, OTAs. We'll probably ramp this thing up a little more towards training camp, which is going to be in late July. So we'll see though. But I'll keep you all updated if anything big happens. Nonetheless, I'm out of here. Have a great day, and see y'all later, Steeler Nation. This was a phenomenal draft. Let's go.